It is not yet noon on Friday, July 12th, as we begin the Bruce Hooley Show. Of course, it's not noon. The show starts at 11 o'clock every day. I'm glad you're here. And I want to congratulate you because it is quite possible, unless you are still in bed, that you have already accomplished a litany of things that the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America could not accomplish on his own. That much is evident from a press conference last night that was ideal if you want Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States, because Joe Biden cleared the bar that has been set for him on remaining president of the United States and remaining the Democratic nominee for president. Of course, the bar hovers about 2 inches off the ground after Joe Biden's debate debacle a little over 2 weeks ago. There were gaffes. There were creepy whispers. There were the nonsensical, anyway, in the middle of a thought that he couldn't piece together and make, despite Joe Scarborough's pronouncement, cogent. But there was not enough there last night to get Joe Biden out of the race. He couldn't get up in the morning. I wouldn't trust him anyway to turn on the stove and make breakfast for my kids. I wouldn't, if I had a baby, trust him to change the child's diaper, feed them a bottle, and watch them throughout the day. He couldn't do what I did, drive on his own through the bottleneck of traffic out at Post Road and 33, and then merge on 33 with traffic racing to work from Marysville, and then figure out how to navigate the 3 lanes down to 1 on the idiotic bridge that ODOT built instead of building a 2 or 3 lane thoroughfare from 33 to 270. He couldn't get off at 23 with 315 traffic merging in, and some going to I-71 and some going south on 23 and some going north on 23. He couldn't do any of that, our president, Joe Biden, but he's the president. He couldn't do what many of you may be ready to do or have already done, which is book your reservation for a vacation, drive across town to Port Columbus International Airport, maybe deal with getting through security on your own, take his shoes off, put his shoes back on. He couldn't do that. You know he couldn't. You know if he was your grandpa, you wouldn't trust him to do that. Maybe your kid has a travel baseball game or travel soccer game this weekend. You're going out of town down to one of the many complexes they have in Southern Ohio, or maybe up to Northeast Ohio, and you're going to sit out in the sun all day and watch your kid play, maybe put up the umbrella, maybe you got a canopy you're going to put up. Joe Biden couldn't do that on his own. You know he couldn't do that on his own. But he's the president of the United States because he's been enabled by a desperate Democratic Party that is, I hope, fatally afflicted. I mean that figuratively. Politically, fatally afflicted with Trump derangement syndrome. It's a bar that Joe Biden now can't get under. And if there's any proof of that needed beyond this, I don't know what it could possibly be.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President, I'm better. You are a hell of a lot better.
How many palms of how many White House communications people do you think were slammed into their foreheads when, before Joe Biden ever took the stage last night, almost 2 hours late, by the way, for his big boy press conference, he called Volodymyr Zelensky, the head of Ukraine, Vladimir Putin when he introduced him? That's a little bit embarrassing. As was this, when Biden got done making his prepared statement that was on the teleprompter. This is how Joe Biden began the supposed, but not really, because this proves it was not really, a big boy press conference portion of the evening.
I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
If you're Jeff Mason of Reuters, you might as well have your testicles removed and put in a satchel to carry around with you, being the first person on the list of Joe Biden's approved questioners. If he's only calling on certain people, it's not a big boy press conference, because in a big boy press conference, you don't know where the questions are coming around. The people are shouting. They're shouting. And then one person hangs on and outlasts the others, who finally give up, decorum winning out over their desire to ask a question. And then you get a question and you may not even know who it's coming from, whether they can be trusted or not, and what their question might be. But if the questions are those of pre-approved questioners, what are the chances the White House goes, oh, this guy, he's in trouble. Why you got to watch for him, Mr. President? No, that guy, Peter Doocy, doesn't get a question during the big boy press conference.